PKA 641 with our guest Ed Bolian from VinWiki.
Absolutely.
When I first moved to North Carolina, this is like 24 years ago, we got this like once in a century snow. It was 24 inches. I had the only snow shovel on my block, having just moved from New Jersey. Everyone's using like gardening shovels with the pointed tips, not even square. So they all borrowed my shovel and stuff where you could like, they're like, oh, look at this. A good snow shovel. You can like sort of plow with it and push.
Yeah,
and you don't have to. So I had like a proper snow shovel. That was fun. But the snow removal around here, they were completely unprepared. I had never seen incompetent snow removal before. In New Jersey, they would have like 3 trucks driving side by side, staggered. So they just like one pushes the snow into the next, and then the next, and then it's off to the side of the road. And they can just do this so it never really accumulates. In North Carolina, they have like yellow Caterpillar earth movers where they like pick up a thing of snow and then take it dump it there, and then they get the next 2 feet.
Pain in the ass.
That's how they remove snow.
It takes months.
We had that ice apocalypse, which was barely 2 or 3 inches of snow.
Yep.
There was a legendary Saturday Night Live sketch about it with Buford T. Calloway or whatever his name was, talking about getting his white Escalade and going out in the, whatever. It was amazing, but it was exactly like that.
It was one of the more shameful things that had happened to Atlanta since Sherman came.
Yes.
It was pretty rough. It snowed like 1.5 inches, and they compared it to that photo from Walking Dead, and it was like it was real close to like it was. What happened, guys?
Does no one have do people not know how to
Zach,
drive in the
please
snow?
show this.
No,
this
they
is
do
like
not know how to
4
drive.
miles from my house where I'm sitting right
You just
now.
go slow.
This is
and
a famous
careful.
picture. You all have seen it before. This is what happens when we get a dusting of snow in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Is it that video where the car goes?
It's not a video. This is Look how deep that snow is. You can see the pavement.
Dude, there's
You can see the
grass.
pavement, yeah.
You can see grass near the 45-mile-an-hour sign.
We're just wrecked.
Look how wide. Look how wide they are.
Dude, honestly, there's no excuse for this. There are many 4-wheel drive cars in this.
Oh yeah, for sure. When it happened in Atlanta, it was probably 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
So my commute I was working at Lamborghini Atlanta, it probably took me 15, 20 minutes to get home. It took 12 hours because at every hill and every intersection, there was a gigantic pileup of cars. And the traffic was so bad that you couldn't go. Everybody was running out of gas. The next day, there were so many crashed cars that you could not have parallel parked on the highway. It was it was unbelievable. We had to go back. My wife was an elementary school teacher, and we had a Range Rover on summer tires, and we were taking the last kids home that had spent the night at the school. It looked exactly like that everywhere.
Yes, the AT-AT.
Without the fire. Yes.
That is an AT-AT or an.
You didn't call it an AT-AT?
Oh, I don't know.
There's differences of opinion on that one, Woody.
Okay.
What is, Kyle, you can say this because you're from Georgia. What is the instinct of someone who has never driven on snow when they do for the first time that causes this? Like, is it, I just need to hit the gas harder to go more?
First of all, I thought you were going to say the N word for some reason, like with that whole thing. I thought that's that's what that wind up was. But
no,
as someone from Georgia, my first instinct, I think I'm a good snow driver. I've had good experiences. I drove through a fucking blizzard one time in Colorado. And
but you're a good driver. You've experienced driving with people, I'm sure, who haven't.
My experience, like if you're asking like my instincts on how to like handle it, it would be to go slow and like,
what's going on down there?
Because you start spinning and you start sliding and you're gone. Because I've driven in mud and I've driven in fields with. Every now and then you got to take a 2-wheel drive truck off into a wet, muddy field, and you got to learn how it like maintains its friction by not accelerating or decelerating rapidly. Like the mud won't hold you; you'll start sliding. So you have to accelerate and decelerate very carefully. You kind of learn those things driving off road. The same, so it applies to snow. Really, I don't know how people do
off-roading's
that.
a little bit more of maintaining momentum, which snow is not about.
Well, that's true.
And I think that's probably a bit of our problem. Is
you don't want to maintain a bunch of momentum.
That's what's going to carry me through this, and also into every other person on the road. And
yeah.
You like all of us have been in that situation driving in the snow where like you crest a hill, a slight hill, and then it's like a minor decline, and there's someone like 400 yards ahead of you, and you're like, all right, I hope the guy behind me also knows to go 1 mile an hour. Like as you try and edge and you start to fishtail a little bit, overcorrect.
We had to drive from Denver to Killington, and like we were in a 4-wheel drive, like big SUV. The guy at the thing recognized me, and I convinced him to upgrade us to the fucking big SUV. And thank fucking God, because it was an Explorer. So it had like some, I don't know, it was like blizzard mode. I was like, yeah, I do need blizzard mode. But there was a guy in a 2-wheel drive SUV like on the interstate with us, and we were side by side going about 40. And he was basically plowing snow with the front of his car. It was like spraying in front of him. And the guy is outside the passenger window. He's crawled out of the vehicle and he's looking at the front tire because the front tire is just kind of locked. and I roll my window down. We're going maybe 40, and I'm just like, "Good luck!" And he just like knowingly went, "Thank you." Like I need that.
We're not headed in a good direction here.
No.
Snow's not that hard to drive in. You get some traction in it, whether it be for stopping or accelerating or maintaining where you're going. But a sheet of ice is really hard to drive in, and I think that sometimes people who are from places that have real snow, like Buffalo or Missouri or whatever, are like, what? That was nothing. Why is that person suffering? Now, you don't understand. They're in the South, right? Everything melted that day and it refroze that night. And they don't have the traction that you have in snow.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's harder to drive on black ice than it is in deep snow, like by far.
Right. Yeah. So, and it looks like nothing and they look incompetent, but
I guess we can't make fun of the South of this.
We can.
There you go.
We're not really fact-based.
South is always taking strays. You're right. Let's give them credit for things. They're good at football. They like football. They're good at that. They're good at. Aren't most like really good baseball players from the South?
Yeah,
and from like the Dominican Republic and stuff.
Well, yeah, but they're 5 years older than they say they are. So.
That is cheatery. Yeah, you see a dude who's like, I'm 21, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, you have a tattoo, like, in remembrance of someone who died at an age you couldn't have got the tattoo about. Yeah.
You're a POW for real?
Yeah, 101st Airborne. Like, what the fuck are you?
I ain't gonna mace you. I ain't gonna tase you. I'm gonna give you these hands, son.